What is going on, Animal Crew? Stefi Cohen here. I'm coming at you from Hybrid Performance Method in Miami, Florida. And today I got for you a special video about my favorite body part, which, if you haven't guessed, is the legs. Because we're gonna talk about the entire leg. How to build ginormous wheels. How to build legs that will turn heads left and right. How to build legs that might make it into a poster one day. That's what we're gonna be doing today. A little disclaimer for you guys, I actually forgot to record this part when we first started rolling in the video. So I just wanted to briefly touch on a couple of points. Now, this video is about legs and leg hypertrophy and how to train them, but I do want to remind you that of these two really important variables when it comes to muscle growth. Obviously, exercise selection is one of the most important things that you can start thinking about, but more important than exercise selection is going to be your training volume. So we know that when all other variables are equal, training volume is the most important variable to take into account when it comes to muscle hypertrophy. And basically all this means is that you want to make sure that you're doing enough reps and enough sets per week, not only in one session per week, to elicit a training response or a training stimulus. So a lot of people think that they can only train legs once a week, and this is actually not true. Your body is amazing, and you can actually recover from a lot more than one leg session a week. Personally, I would recommend training legs at least 2 or 3 times per week and incorporating several movements in those training sessions. And over time, you always have to incorporate the concept of progressive overload. So continue adding weight, continue adding sets, continue adding reps into the mix so that you can continue growing and your progress doesn't stall. The second variable that's really important is your energy intake. If your goal is to build bigger muscles or hypertrophy, then you need to consider energy balance. There's no way that you can create new tissue or hypertrophy or muscles without being in a calorie surplus or at least being at maintenance level calories. All this means is make sure that you're feeding your body appropriately the right macro and micronutrients that it needs in order to perform at its fullest and in order to grow. And this doesn't mean that you need to be in a huge calorie surplus and eating Big Macs and whatnot. It just means you need to be feeding your body enough energy so it can recover, regenerate, and grow. I don't want to bore you guys too much, but because I'm a huge nerd, we're going to start this video like I usually started, talking a little bit about the anatomy of the muscles that we're going to be training. And so as far as the quad goes, you have your component in the front, your anterior component, and then your posterior component. So on the front of your leg, you're gonna have your vastus lateralis, your intermedius, and your medialis, and then your rec fem, your rectus femoris, which is a muscle that crosses 2 joints. So it's gonna flex your hip, and it's also gonna extend your knee. Next, in the back, you're gonna have your hamstrings, your semitendinosus, and your semimembranosus, and then you're gonna have your glutes. And it's only through training every single part of every single one of those muscles that you're gonna reach a well-rounded leg. A lot of people get too caught on doing only the front of the leg because those are the muscles that are right in front of the mirror, but you have to also remember, never forget that you have muscles in the back too that are gonna contribute to the aesthetics of the entire leg. Now, as far as the muscles in the front go, they're all innervated by the same nerve. It's your femoral nerve. However, depending on the position of your leg, where you point your toes, if you point them out or in or towards the front, or depending on even the machine that you're using, there are ways to target more the middle or the outside of your leg, depending on the angle of the exercise. The same applies for the back of your leg. Depending on where you're putting your leg, you can target more your glutes or more your hamstrings. You can even target the proximal part, so closer to your hip, or you can target more the distal part, closer to your knee. And all of those exercises are going to be important, again, to build a well-rounded lower body. So let's get right into it. I'm going to share with you my favorite exercises and my favorite routine for the legs. Check it out. Okay. The first exercise I'm going to share with you is a Bulgarian split squat. Some of you might have done it. Some of you might be new to this movement, but it's one of my all-time favorites, especially because of the versatility of the movement. There's so many different ways that you can do it, and there's not necessarily a right or wrong way to do it. So my favorite way to do it is by grabbing a kettlebell or a dumbbell on the opposite hand of the leg that's on the floor. So this is called a contralateral load. And the reason why I like this particular setup the most is because it also engages my core and it makes my hip on this side work a little bit harder. So all you're gonna do, you're gonna put your back foot on a bench behind you. And I really want you to focus on the front leg. So you shouldn't be putting much weight on the back leg. All of your weight should be on this forward leg over here. Now, as far as where you need to put your leg in terms of distance from the bench, there's also no right or wrong answer. If you put your leg further away from the bench, that's gonna create, you're gonna be at a 90-degree angle, and that's gonna engage more of your hamstrings and your glutes, which if that's your goal, then go for it. Or you can come in closer to the bench, in which you'll create a larger knee angle and you'll work on the anterior muscles a lot more. So all you're gonna do, you're gonna hold your kettlebell or your dumbbell. I'm gonna do it closer to the bench. Focus on distributing your weight on the front leg and only using the back leg for balance. If you're struggling with balance in this movement, you can also do it braced, so holding against another surface to start with, but I encourage you to try to do it without any support as the weeks go by. The next movement that we're gonna focus on is a walking lunge, but we're gonna do it a little bit different. We're gonna add a little twist to it. We're gonna do the lunge with excessive knee flexion. So all that means is we're gonna allow the knee to pretty much go past the toes. Now, I know this is something that probably your personal trainer told you not to do, or your strength coach told you not to do, never let your knees go past your toes. But we know that this is a misconception, is a totally unfounded and unsubstantiated claim that letting your knee go past your toe is damaging for the knee, which is not. So I just wanna reinforce that and encourage you to change your beliefs about this movement. And so what we're gonna do, essentially gonna grab the kettlebells and you're gonna do your lunge how you usually do it, but you're gonna focus on letting your knee go past your toe even more. And you're gonna notice, you're gonna feel it a lot more on your quads. So in terms of effectiveness of the movement, by allowing your knee to travel the toe, the angle of your knee is greater, and so you're gonna emphasize those muscles a lot more. All right, now we've already gone through my two favorite exercises for the front of the leg. Now let's move to the back of the leg. So the first exercise we're gonna do is a twist on an RDL, on a dumbbell RDL. So I actually, hold on, I forgot a piece. I want you to grab a plate or a surface that's about an inch tall. And what I want you to do is you're also gonna use a bench, and this is only to cue you to keep your knees extended. So you're gonna put your toes on the surface, whether it's a plate or a, I don't know what else it would be, but a book, who knows? What else could they be using? A pan, Caesar's camera. Okay, so you're just gonna use a surface to stand on, approximately an inch tall. What I want you to do is I want you to keep the dumbbells far away from your body, which is also counter to what you might be doing in your deadlift. In the deadlift and the snatch and the clean, you wanna keep the weight really close to you. But in this exercise, I actually want you to keep it far away from your body at the level of your toe box. So while maintaining your knees touching the bench behind you and keeping contact with the plate or whatever you put under your toes. All you're gonna do is drop down, but slower. So we're gonna do eccentric on the way down, stop for 1, 2, 3, and then come. You don't need to come all the way up. So I actually want to stay in this kind of bent over position. So from here, we're gonna do slow, keeping the weight at the level of the toe box, and then 3, 2, 1, and back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and back up. Now, this is gonna probably, I used to struggle a lot with feeling my hamstrings whenever I did an RDL or even a deadlift, and this exercise made it a lot easier for me to feel connected with my hamstrings and actually feel like I'm targeting the hamstring. Okay, your final exercise for today's video is going to be a front-loaded good morning. A lot of people do the good morning with a barbell on their back. This might make some people uncomfortable and severely limit the amount of weight that they can use. So I want to propose an alternative to that movement, which will be the front-loaded good morning. So all you want to do, you can start the barbell either on the pins, or you can even just lower the J hooks so you can have a more comfortable start. You want the barbell to be sitting right on the crease of your elbow. And the way that I want you to lock the barbell in is you're gonna put one hand under, one hand over, lock, and then keep the bar really close to you at all times. So don't want you to be out here. Hook it in like that and keep your elbows curled the entire time. So from here, I'm gonna go up. You're gonna have a wider stance than what you would do if you were squatting. And all you're gonna do, you're gonna bring your hips towards the back of the room, keeping the bar close to you. Again, small pause, and then back up. The goal is to bring the chest to be completely parallel to the floor. Five reps, and now I'm out of breath. That's all it takes, ladies and gents. Okay, so that's my favorite leg finisher accessory workout day. There you have it. You have your Bulgarian split squat, which again, you can do in any way you want. You can use 2 dumbbells on each side. You can use 1 on each side. You can use 1 on the left side, on the right, on the front, overhead. It doesn't really matter. I actually encourage people to include variety in their routines so that it keeps them engaged and entertained, all within still continuing to exercise and working towards their goals. Next, we did the walking lunges with the excessive knee flexion, focusing on the front of the quad. Following that, we did our RDLs with an eccentric portion, a pause, elevating our toes and keeping our knees extended onto a bench behind us. And finally, we did our good mornings, front-loaded good mornings, focusing on that stretch in the hamstrings as well with a wider stance than the squat. I hope that all made sense. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop it down below in the comment section. I'll do my best to be on the lookout for all of those questions. And if you have any more questions and I didn't get back to you, you can always reach me at Stefi Cohen on Instagram or Stefi Cohen on YouTube. I hope you guys enjoyed, learned something new, and are more motivated than ever to train. Catch you guys next time. Bye.